I mean, if you look at, there's a study out that says Gen Z, roughly 75% of Gen Z buyers are going to buy through social selling. And not only that, the next tier, the old guys like me, we're buying through social selling as well. And the strategies around how they sell, the video selling, the kind of like exactly how that happens, are all part of the overall strategy. So you have to have those connection points effectively through those, so the rest of your business supports that.
Welcome to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, E-Commerce Marketing Podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen. I am your host. Today we have a very special guest, Chris Timmer, who is the CEO of Linnworks, a leading e-commerce operations platform that helps brands automate and optimize their multi-channel selling efforts. He's had over 3 decades of leadership experience spanning sales, marketing, and operations and supply chain management software. Chris is also passionate about enabling brands to gain control of their e-commerce strategies and scale efficiently across multiple marketplaces and social platforms. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Thanks, Arlen. Glad to be here.
Yes, and thank you for joining us. Yes, today we're definitely going to be talking about the things that are all about what you do and what you've been doing the past several decades, which is helping businesses maximizing their efforts on marketplaces, various marketplaces, and integrating all of this into kind of one kind of cohesive, I guess you could say, operation, and doing that
Absolutely.
efficiently. And so I know you know about doing that. But before we kind of dive into that, why don't you tell me a little bit more about your background and how specifically you got into what you're doing today with Linnworks?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's been 3 decades of background in software, and
Sure.
yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing related to age and what have you. But yeah, I've been doing this a long time, and I've spent most of my career in the supply chain technologies, helping and enabling companies to be more efficient in either managing order processes, managing their logistics, managing their capabilities of sourcing and delivering products and their capabilities and their products to market, whether that be over the road, whether that be internationally, whether that be from an e-commerce or a traditional retail perspective. I've Again, like I said, I've either seen it all or I've been around it all, related to being able to help enable companies grow their businesses, and I think that's what we're really passionate about is how
Okay.
do we find better ways to grow businesses. So my background, again, yeah,
Mhm.
operations, commercially. I've sat a lot of different chairs, and had a lot of different experiences in actually partnering with and enabling commerce to happen more effectively.
Okay.
And as I've gone through this journey and then moved into really the e-commerce space where, a few years ago, COVID hits and suddenly everybody realized you can buy stuff online, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's just exploded, and now it's kind of stabilized as an industry. And so now it's a matter of how do we continue to grow? How do we continue to address the issues and the demands that consumers have, and then enable that from a back end perspective, the sellers and the businesses to be able to sell their products and reach those customers effectively.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds great. Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that as far as brands during COVID figuring out that they needed to be able to sell online. And
Yeah,
it's really interesting because we were talking about 2020 at that time when all of that happened, when kind of the world shut down. And at that time, you would have thought that more businesses would have kind of been a little bit more on the ball with regards to their operations and selling online, the fulfillment, the whole
Yeah.
flow of everything. But it, fortunately, it caught a lot of businesses off guard, and we saw a lot of businesses fail, and were forced to, kind of do other things. One thing that I was kind of surprised by, and it probably is related to the fallout after COVID, was even though they've since got a kind of a new presence now. I'm thinking of the company Bed Bath and Beyond.
Hmm.
And so prior to COVID, they had
Yeah.
operation, of course, storefronts, several storefronts. They, from what I can tell, they were pretty thriving. They had an e-commerce presence, but one of the things that I always remember this prior to 2020, the experience in store versus on the online was a little bit disjointed. Because they were trying to do some things as far as like their whole reward system and trying to get people. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. They're trying to get people from the website and then even in the store onto
Hmm.
this kind of online rewards system, but it was clunky to say the least.
Yeah.
And since then, of course, they shut down, of course, their storefronts, and now I know they're just an online presence, but it's managed by a different company now.
Yeah. I think the realization that people will go to online to buy products coming out of COVID really caught people off guard, like a Bed Bath and Beyond. And I'd say there are many, many others. The traditional brick and mortar stores, um, up until then, probably really looked at their e-commerce selling as a niche. That,
Yes.
hey, it's a little thing we do. We know people want to buy stuff online, but we'd rather them go into the stores and into the locations. Well,
Exactly.
this turned itself on its head, and those that couldn't pivot with strategies and capabilities and user experience that made things easy really frustrated those businesses, and a lot of them suffered because of it. It's an interesting
Mhm.
dynamic, though, because as we walk, I mean, we're 5 years from that, right?
Yeah.
And as we look at the evolution of the market, these strategies, not only accessing these customers, but also as you live in both camps, you talk about the brick and mortar stores that are selling online. A lot of those brick and mortar stores have developed different strategies, and it becomes now say a cohesive go-to-market strategy in attracting customers. We've seen this is interesting anecdote, but we've seen a lot of our online customers that are actually selling their products online moving towards brick and mortar, which would be counterintuitive based on what's happening in that you would think in the marketplace. But the reality is the key is going after where the customer sits and what do they want
Exactly.
to experience. And I think more
Mhm.
than anything, the online selling experience has created an expectation from a customer perspective that we want things a certain way, the way we want them, when we want them. And when you're in a brick and mortar store, you can go in and you can get it whatever you want, but they might not have inventory, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you're online, you basically have access to your entire inventory. So your
Mhm.
experience becomes a little bit different, and your ability to serve the need of that customer becomes a little bit different as these retailers are looking to attach themselves to these particular customers. So we've seen this evolution of brick and mortar stores hit brick wall and saying, okay, how do I get people to come in anymore? Because nobody wants to go into the store. To now we're seeing a trend back towards in store coupled with the online experience.
Mhm.
And so just the strategies, the retail strategies and being able to balance that effectively and manage that is pretty significant. We have one customer that they have one of their strategies is let's put brick and mortar stores in markets to actually reinforce our brand. So I've become this online brand. People expect me to sell my products online. So you look at folks like Sadie Ray's and Wayfair, and I would throw Warby Parker into there, where a lot of their sales, most of their sales come online. They have brick and mortar stores, to actually enhance their presence with the customer and increase sales. One of our customers that has done this strategy has found that their sales rise dramatically every time they drop a brick and mortar store in. They don't even expect that brick and mortar store is going to be really, really profitable. But what it does is it drives it back to the online sale because people do want that experience. So it's just really interesting how these different strategies are happening when we're working with your own website, then blend in social, then blend in the marketplaces, then blend in all these other strategies that you can deploy. It becomes a bit of a puzzle to figure out for yourself as a retailer where we really want to attach ourselves to our customers and which ones are the most effective for us.
Yeah, it's interesting with all of these different channels now, the marketplaces. We have, of course, the D2C, we have Amazon, we have the Walmarts, we have
Right.
the storefronts, the regular brick and mortar. It's challenging, I think, for brands to figure out, you know, where they really want to focus on. Have you, in your experience, have you seen any cases where it doesn't make sense to go multi-channel into, let's say they're a brick and mortar, and have you ever seen a case where it just doesn't make sense for them to go online? I don't know if that even exists.
In my experience, I haven't necessarily, other than the type of retailer, right? Even,
Okay.
you're even seeing grocery retailers that are doing online activity. Now, intuitively, I would say that's not necessarily make a ton of sense, but the migration of how they're leveraging an online presence to be able to sell is unique. But that would be an example of, I don't know that that's the greatest experience, is trying to sell groceries online.
Yeah.
And we've seen people try that time and time and time again. I mean, like I said, I've been here a long, long time.
Yeah.
Back in the early 2000s, we were looking to, there were businesses looking to sell groceries online, and it just was not necessarily something that got a lot of traction.
Really.
Um, because people like to go in and they like to touch and feel what they're going to buy, especially if it's food. But
Yeah.
other areas and other verticals, absolutely, that a hybrid approach, or I would say a melded approach, is an effective way of actually attracting customers. So when we partner with our customers, just as a background of what we do like what we call back end e-commerce, commerce operations technologies. So we connect the marketplaces and the channels with the financial systems. And so we do all of the hard work in between, the kind of the supply chain stuff, from the shipping to the order management, inventory management, warehouse management, forecasting, stuff like that. The kind of I would say grunt work that's done to get the customers engaged. I think what we find naturally with all of the sellers that we're partnering with is that all of these retailers are looking at providing the customer with the best experience and the return to that experience that they possibly can. So if I've listened to, we have thousands of customers, and I try to get an understanding of each one of them and what's their strategy and how can we better serve you from a technology perspective. And each one of them, it really comes down to, how am I best serving my customer so that we get the return sale, we get the recurring sale, but also having them have the best experience they possibly can in working with us. And some of that is a blend of brick and mortar and online. But for, I would say, most of our customers, it's still the e-commerce, the online selling
Mhm.
is really the key. And then it's
Okay.
a matter of, where do I go to do that? So
Okay.
what channel, what marketplace is most effective for me? Whether I'm a home and garden is a big one that we do. What channels are best to sell home and garden on? What marketplaces sell best home and garden? eBay is a big, big partner of ours. Well, they have one of the biggest presence in automotive. So
Mhm.
eBay Automotive is a huge marketplace, and it's one of the most effective ways for aftermarket parts, things like that, to be sold, because it gets access to everybody that's in eBay Motors, and that's a huge marketplace. And so, based on the type of things you're selling, based on your retail approach, the marketplace design is really necessary and effective,
Mhm.
and the diversification of those. So
Right.
we find, like, the benchmark for our clients are, if you're attached to more than five marketplaces or five channels,
Mhm.
that's our most successful, best growing customers. They're
Mhm.
continuing to grow. They're continuing to have a diversification of their customer base. They're getting access to more customers, and then seamlessly they're giving them that same experience through the leverage of softwares like ours.
Hey,
Before we jump into the next question, I want to take a quick second to talk about something that's been a game changer for so many business owners, including myself. That's public speaking. If you're running an e-commerce brand, marketing agency, or any business, your ability to communicate clearly and confidently can really make all the difference. Whether you're pitching to investors, speaking at conferences, or even just creating content that connects with your audience. That's exactly why I created speaktoempower.com, a coaching program designed to help you master public speaking without fear. You can start with my free 10-day course where I walk through essential strategies to overcome nervousness, engage in the audience, and speak with confidence. And if you want to go even deeper, I offer weekly virtual group coaching sessions and one-on-one coaching tailored to your needs. So if you've ever felt like you could be more confident on camera, on stage, or even in day-to-day business conversations, head over to speaktoempower.com and get started for free today. All right, now back to the episode.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's one of the things that I've seen is you're talking about all of these brands, really kind of almost doubling down on the online presence and then focusing on the different online channels. For them to be successful, would you say that automation for like inventory, order management, fulfillment, is that the key to their success? And if so, is there any particular tools that you guys use as a company or processes that you would say have to be in place to be effective for them to be successful?
Yeah, what again, kind of what we look at when we're partnering with our customers is we look at what are they trying to accomplish and who are they trying to attack and get access to from a channels perspective. There's really two components of really, really effective growth strategies. One is leveraging technology, period.
Yep.
We see the trend is those sellers that really leverage back end technologies to be able to enable their business allow themselves the ability to scale far, far more effectively than those that don't. And
Right.
so the winners in the market right now are those that are deploying technology.
Okay.
The smaller sellers, those really ones
Mhm.
that the startups that are going through, hey, I'm going to sell stuff on Amazon, I'm going to sell stuff on wherever, those struggle when they can't necessarily invest in the ability to scale their
Yeah.
business. And that's really around the scale piece of it. Um, where we see it really, so then it goes back to what marketplaces do we need to go to? Where am I going to be most effective? And then how do I best give that seamless order process through the order experience for the customer when you're executing. So order management is very, very key in driving an efficient way of utilizing, either artificial intelligence or an optimization engine, a rules-based engine that allows you to efficiently get that order through the process, and then identifying where inventory is, because in many cases, a lot of products aren't sitting in four walls of a warehouse that somebody owns. Where it's
Got it.
sitting is it's a drop shipped or it's overseas or what have you, and we're actually trying to figure out where exactly all of our inventory is. Inventory management is a massively complex component
Love
that
it.
they solve for where my product is. So again, ultimately, I'm trying to get that product to the customer as soon as I can in the best way I can, in the best experience I can. And then the sophistication around reporting and pricing and those types of things. Another key element of this is returns management. Is what's
Mhm.
that
Oh, yeah.
experience? So it kind of goes back to the overall arching thing that I keep talking about is what's the experience? And then how do I automate that experience through all of the processes that I leverage? And how am I getting access to the right customers that are going to buy what I'm selling
Mhm.
and are going to come back and rebuy from me whenever they have that need?
Mhm. Yeah, speaking of that, and speaking of leveraging technology and meeting those customers where they are, these days, social selling is really kind of
Huge.
huge. It's
Yeah.
really huge on platforms, of course, like TikTok Shop and some of these other platforms where it's a seamless purchase process when somebody is on the platform. Um, how do brands really effectively integrate that whole piece of it into their entire, I guess you could say, ecosystem? And is
Yeah.
that something that they should be focusing on?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you look at, there's a study out that says Gen Z, about roughly 75% of Gen Z buyers are going to buy through social selling.
Wow.
And not only that, the next tier, the old guys like me,
Mhm.
we're buying through social selling as well. And the
Mhm.
strategies around how they sell, the video selling, the kind of like exactly how that happens, are all part of the overall strategy. So you have to have those connection points
Yeah.
effectively through those. So the rest of your business supports that. And
Mhm.
that's where technologies like ours come into play, and others, but technologies
Mhm.
like ours come into place, helping enable that. So that again, if my expectation is I'm going to be on TikTok Shop and I just want to, hey, that looks pretty cool. I think I would want to buy one of those. I need to be
Yeah.
able to buy it, click yes, put my credit card information in, hit send, and a couple days later, I got it coming through. Right?
Yeah.
That's the
Exactly.
expectation that most people have as consumers.
Yeah.
So having the optimization, having the technologies, having the connection points, having those integrations, and TikTok's one of our real strategic partners. We do a lot with TikTok related to their business flow and how we support the business flow. And so growing other businesses. So one of the things we do with our customers as well is partner with them to say, okay, where do we think you should be? Like, how are
Mhm.
you going to optimize where you're going to be selling? And so a lot of these partnerships, whether it's TikTok or Sheen or others that eBay, Amazon, I mean, all of these marketplaces have their own idiosyncrasies
Yes.
to be successful. And so what we want to do is we want to find where our customers should be and where they should be selling. And that's where I use I mentioned, if you're above five, you're really a growing business. It's that
Mhm.
diversification. Where we see single threaded marketplaces tends to spike, and then people will start to wane off because competition becomes very, very fierce. That's another aspect of this, is that in a lot of these mass marketplaces, I would kind of throw Amazon in there. You have a number of competitors that are out there that make it really, really difficult to differentiate yourself. So from
Yes.
a seller's marketing themselves through the social buying, that becomes really different because it really does feed into so to speak, how am I getting that user the experience that they get on what I do and how I do it in a
Mhm.
unique way and differentiates me. That in some of these other channels that's not really that much available. You go online, you say that all looks like the same product, and there's 6 or 7 different brands, right? And they're all about the
Yeah,
same price
exactly.
point. So which one
Right.
do I
Right.
buy?
Right.
And so it's hard to establish your brand in that kind of scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of it, it's establishing your brand and going across all of these different channels. I'm sure, of course, you've seen it all. I know you've seen a lot through the years that you've been around doing this and helping brands,
Mhm.
make a solid presence across multi-channel platforms. What would you say are the most common mistakes that businesses make when they, start to expand across multiple marketplaces, and how do they avoid these mistakes?
Yeah, I say going too fast, too wide, too fast, right?
Okay.
So, uh, yes, thank you for letting us know that we should be in multiple marketplaces. I want to go in that one, that one, that one, and that one. It creates a challenge for you as it relates to scaling. So having
Okay.
your business, so not preparing the business process to occur.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we have customers that at one point were taking their inventories on pads of paper,
Oh, wow. Mm.
and you just can't scale that way. So, um,
Right.
take it in increments and take it strategically. Less is more,
Mhm.
but build the infrastructure and the processes to be able to do it, and then leverage technology as you're able to become more efficient. So scaling becomes easier. So if I add a marketplace, I don't have to change all of my processes, right?
Yeah, that
I can have a similar integration, similar processes, so that I can scale and I can add volume to the equation. Um,
yeah.
so I'd say that's probably the number one issue, I think, is not overselling, and making sure that you've got a strategy around how you're going to go after your customers, and then build the processes to do that. one of the key elements we do see is that um, more and more it's around pricing strategy, it's around customers experience, around making sure your forecasting is effective, and then ultimately that your fulfillment is there too, because you want to run out. So systems allow you to do that. And now with the addition of kind of some advanced AI type technologies, it helps in streamlining those processes where you can do more with less and more with less, because most of these growing sellers want to do more with less. And even if you're a
Right.
big box retailer and you're trying to have a better online presence, you're still, what we're finding is instead of having that in the core of the business, it's still a subset organizationally. So they're still kind of working as kind of a startup or kind of a smaller business. You might be a multi-billion-dollar retailer, but your online sales might be, few 100 million or 100 million, where I've got a small group of people that's really focused on that type of experience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, and I can definitely see that mistake. How a lot of businesses are, you know, the urge to get out there across all of these platforms immediately. It's just very tempting because you want to try to maximize your reach, your brand awareness. You want to try to be everywhere to all all people, to all places, and all places all at the same time. But yeah, I see how that strategic approach, scaling slowly, going from one to the next, and then of course constantly testing to see how your messaging is working, your all these processes on the back
Mhm.
end, the refunds, your inventory management, all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
think.
definitely makes sense to do it one at a time.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, going back to what I'll continue to reiterate, is it really is about the customer experience. So when
Right.
you throw in returns, how easy is it for me to process a return?
Yep.
Whenever I'm buying on something online, I find that when I get the product and they say, "Here's your returns process. We're going to make it easy. Here's the label. If you decide you don't like it,
Yep.
95% of the time I'm keeping the product, right?
Mhm. Sure.
But I'm going back to that e-tailer because I want to get the same experience. I want to get the
There it
same
is.
experience, and it really goes back to the having the experience that is drives recurring sales.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, Chris, as we get ready to wrap things up, looking forward to the future, what trends would you say are starting to shape the future of marketplace selling and e-commerce operations within just the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think we hit on quite a few today already. I think the social selling
Yep.
is really a key, and I think we've just scratched the surface on that. Especially because it is what people are asking for. They've got a taste for it, and now they're really asking for it. I think that you will see a continued balance between the brick and mortar and the online selling. So it's not that online selling is going to diminish. It's just not going to grow at 50, 60% year over year. We've now kind of come back to earth, and it's still a growing marketplace and people are getting that experience. But I think you're going to find that more and more retailers are going to build a brick and mortar and an online present strategy that feeds each other. And I think we're going to see some advancement in that. I think the
Yeah.
the way we interact, you can even see it in the stores, where everything's self-serve. I think the whole concept of self-serve becomes something that more and more people want. And so I think you'll see some trends around self-serve in this whole process, because e-commerce is kind of self-serve.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so when you look at it from that perspective, I think that's a key trend.
Hmm.
The globalization of selling. Some major markets that are continuing to grow are Australia.
Hmm.
The US continues to grow quite a bit. India continues to grow quite a bit. We're seeing some, I would say, non-traditional markets start to really have some traction in the e-commerce space, maybe some laggards, so to speak, that are starting to see. But it's the borderless mentality of the e-commerce marketplaces. You can get anything you want from anywhere you want, anytime you want.
Yeah,
It's kind of the
exactly.
ultimate. It's kind of the ultimate agility, and I think from
It
our
is.
perspective, that's what we really love. That's why we love doing what we do, because
Mhm.
it's a bit unlimited, and there's just, we see trends happen every year that are like either intuitive or counterintuitive, depending on what you're thinking, the way things have happened. So it's an exciting marketplace. It'll
Mhm.
continue to grow. The expectations are continuing to be high, and so those retailers that are prepared for the agility that's necessary to be successful, accessing those customers that are buying, and the
Mhm.
markets and the channels that are necessary for us to get there, and then having that user experience, and allowing the back ends like to be automated through technology and that type of enablement, using AI for strategies, using AI to eliminate costs, using AI to be more effective and efficient in response times, which is really, everybody talks about AI. The reality of AI is AI is a tool,
Yeah.
and AI can be whether you're responding, whether you're developing in your code, making decisions for you, all those kinds of things. And so, I think that the trend of the leverage of AI will continue to grow. But
Mhm.
that's not a new thing either. That thing's been around for a long time. Machine learning has been around for a long, long time. Now we're
Yeah.
just really figured out how to use it well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the interesting thing about it, because I've heard about machine learning for a while as well,
Yeah.
and then it's just like all of a sudden it's just it's everywhere and it's taking control. Well, yeah, it's definitely interesting, and thank you for sharing that. It's going to be some exciting times ahead, and it will be interesting to see, where things can go, especially with all of these different
Mhm.
channels. I'm thinking of Amazon and just the leaps that they've made as far as their delivery time frames and their process. And there's been all of this chatter about how do they how do they even take what they're doing now, where the same day delivery, how do they take
Yeah.
that to the next level? There's been the chatter about the drones, and I think they've
Yep.
experimented with that in, I think, New Zealand, from what I understand, and some
Yep.
other countries. It'll be interesting to see where it goes here in the US, and you know, what do we have to look forward to? So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Absolutely.
gonna be pretty exciting.
It's fun, and it's an exciting industry. There again, like I said, there's trends that are happening. Um, I would even, I would even hypothesize that we're going to see a little bit of a calibration of those user expectations too,
Right, right.
related to timing. I mean, everybody wants stuff right now,
Exactly.
and so
Exactly.
we've moved that way, and that's why the drones come out. But I think there's also a trend that shows that people are like, I'll get certain things when I need to have it, so again, let's keep in touch, and let's watch this thing because it's pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's been great, Chris, talking to you. Thank you for sharing everything that you've shared. I've learned a ton, and our listeners and viewers have as well. Lastly, before we do let you go, I always like to shift gears just a little bit so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. You don't mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself that you think we'd
Fun
be
fact
interested to
about
know?
me. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Fun fact about me. One thing that I do as a just individual is I like to restore old wooden boats, and so my brought up in a family. I live near a lake. I live near Lake Michigan,
Sure.
and I enjoy the getting away from the management of a business to I'm just using my hands and standing a boat down, and what have you, and restoring it,
Okay.
making something very special out of it. So
Okay.
it's a unique fun fact.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's always good to be able to mix. When I ask this question, a lot of the people I've had on the podcast have told me similar things, that their kind of fun fact or their hobby is something totally unrelated to the online space. It's something that gets
yeah,
them away from technology, which I think all of us need something that pulls us
you got to have
away,
an
because
intellectual balance.
exactly, exactly. Too much of one thing, as we all know, is not
Yeah,
a good thing. So
yeah,
you gotta mix it up. And you
yep,
gotta at some point in time, you gotta put your hands on some things and then just build something like you're doing.
100%.
So yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff. So thank you for sharing that. Lastly, before we let you go, if our listeners and viewers want to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about multi-channel marketplace selling and how to effectively manage all of this, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Best way is to go to our website, and www.linnworks, linnworks.com. There's a plethora of information there related to kind of how we can help them. We can get people engaged. If there's also other videos and what have you that we've shared online there. There's content. We have all kinds of ways to engage with the content, the knowledge base, and the help that we can provide as a software provider through that
Mhm.
website. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Sounds good. Well, we'll be sure to have the link to your website, linnworks.com in the show notes, as well as on our website, so people can check you out there.
Excellent.
Well, Chris, it's been awesome talking to you. We really appreciate having you on the e-commerce marketing
Arlen,
podcast.
appreciate being here, and thanks for your time, and good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.